Hello, my name is Mr. Jagdish Ramnanan, and welcome to Math 1194. This video is going to be a very short recap of what was covered in Lecture 1. In case there are any students who join the course late and miss Lecture 1, you can view this video to see what you missed. So this is just some information. So my name, my email address, and my office hours. My office hours well, they will be in room 330 inside the Department of Maths and Statistics. This information is included in the course outline as well. This course is a 1-credit course. It's meant to introduce students to the MATLAB software and programming language. The assessment for the course is 100% coursework, so you have 4 multiple choice quizzes, each with 5%, and 2 coursework exams, each with 40%. This is a rough breakdown of what topics will be covered in each week. So today in this lecture 1, we're looking at introduction and basics. So the quizzes, there was some slight adjustment to this. Quiz 1 is now going to be held on September 26th. That's Thursday, September 26th. Quiz 2 will be on October 3rd. Quiz 3 will be on October 10th, and so on. The coursework exams are fixed on these dates, October 14th and November 18th. Now, the coursework exams will take place in the computer lab. So you must come to the computer lab and attempt the coursework exams using the computers there. However, the quizzes will be held online through My eLearning. Each quiz will consist of 10 multiple choice questions, which you will have 30 minutes to attempt. Quiz 1 is based on lecture 1 only. Quiz 2 based on lectures 2 and 3. Quiz 3 based on lectures 4 and 5. And quiz 4 will be based on the lecture content covered in lectures 6, 7, and 8. That's on programming. This is just some important things to remember in this course. So if you're going to send me an email, please send me the email to the correct email address. So it's firstname.lastname@sta.uwi.edu. All right, make sure you double check that the email address that you have typed is correct. Apart from that, keep on top of your work, make use of the Mathematics Help Center as well as office hours. Always ask questions, and most importantly, practice using the software. Practice using MATLAB, whether it's in the computer labs or on your own personal computer, either using the software itself or the browser version of MATLAB. All right, these are just some other things to pay attention to when you're attempting assessments. I wouldn't talk much about this, so important thing here is MATLAB can be used for these purposes. We are just going to be using MATLAB for calculations, creating plots, and developing algorithms. If you want more information on MATLAB, the MathWorks website is very useful for finding out more information on the software. MathWorks is the company that developed the software, and they have an excellent website that contains any information that you would be looking for with regards to the MATLAB software. A simple Google search typically would yield whatever the search result is that you're looking for. So if you have something that you're looking for in MATLAB, just simply do a Google search and look for typically the MathWorks website will be one of the first results. You just go to that website and find the information. If you want to install a student copy of the software on your computer, there's an installation manual on the website on My eLearning that you can follow to install the software. It is a little outdated, but most of the items listed there should be the same as stated in the manual. Right. Alternatively, you can use the browser version using this website at the bottom here. It is very useful to at least have access to this, to be able to use it, you will need to create a MathWorks account, which is also outlined in the installation manual. These are the main MATLAB windows that you will need to use throughout this course. For now, we are focusing on the command window, workspace, and to an extent, current folder and command history. The graphics window you will meet when we do plots, and the editor window you will meet when we do programming. This is an outline of the data classes in MATLAB. So by data class, I mean the types of data that you can store in MATLAB. We are mainly focusing on the numeric data class, which has several subclasses, but you don't need to know about these. Numeric just means we're storing numbers, and that's what we're focusing on. There are a couple other data classes that we do look at in this course: logical, character, CHAR for short, and function handle are the main ones that we will also be looking at. There's also another data class called string, which is similar to the character data class, which we look at in lecture 3. Table, cell, and struct are not covered in the syllabus for this course, so you do not need to know these. Although I would mention that there are some instances where the cell data class can be implemented if you want to solve questions in a more efficient way. It can be done using this, but you don't need to know it. So for MATLAB, you can basically use it as a calculator. That is one of the uses we outlined. And in this lecture, it's just basically talking about how to use MATLAB as a calculator. So these are the arithmetic operations: addition, subtraction. Now, for these 3 operations, multiplication, division, and exponentiation, there are 2 different forms. The standard form are the ones on the left, so the asterisk, the forward slash, and the hat. The ones with the dot before them are called element-wise operation, and those are covered in lecture 2. All right, so you can perform any basic calculation in MATLAB, and by default, it will be saved to the variable ANS, just like a calculator would save it as ANS. If you want to specify a variable name to save it to, you type that variable name first, followed by an equal sign, and then the expression that you want to calculate. Just note that there are some rules to follow when naming your variables. These are outlined here. I wouldn't go through them in detail, but you can refer to the slide. All right, these are some more things you might want to look at with respect to variable names. And this table here outlines some of the syntax that you would use for certain commands. So if you want the value pi, you type common pi. If for whatever reason you're using imaginary numbers, you can use I or J. If you want 10 to the power of x, you would use 1ex, or you could just simply type 10 to the power of x. That's also accepted, but this is more efficient. Square root is sqrt. The exponential function is exp. You cannot type e to the power of x in MATLAB. MATLAB will not recognize that. You will get an error. All right, but exp of whatever the value is will give you the answer that you need. With logs, you need to be careful because log base 10 is actually log 10, and ln, or log base e, is log. Right, so this is one you can mix up, so be careful with that. And then we have the sine functions, well, the trig functions, so like sine, cosine, tan, etc. There are 2 versions. By default, sin is measured in would measure the angle in radians. If you want the angle to be measured in degrees, you have to use sin d. And similarly for cosine and tan, you just add a d to make it degrees. But in this course, we are only going to be looking at radians. So you just need to know the basic ones: sin, cos, etc. For the inverse functions, you put an a in front of it, and for the hyperbolic functions, you put an h at the end of it. All right, so these are some basic commands you can use to help to see how to use MATLAB as a calculator. You can use to calculate the values of these expressions. All right, there's an exercise here which you should attempt yourself, and the solutions are given in in the exercise solutions for lecture 1, you can find the solutions for these questions. Please practice them and look at the solutions. You have to be very careful in MATLAB with two things. One, with fractions, you have to make sure you put brackets around the entire denominator and the entire numerator to get the correct answer. If you leave out your brackets, you will likely get the wrong answer. Also, pay attention to something like this where we have 5 sine 6. We know that this means 5 multiplied by sine 6, but if you type it like this, MATLAB will not know that. So in MATLAB, you will have to put in a multiplication sign here. So you'll have to type 5 multiplied by sine 6. All right. Similarly here, 3 cos 10 to the power 9, you'll have to put a multiply sign here. 2 pi, you will have to put a multiply sign there, etc. This slide and the slide that follows this gives some formatting options that you can use in MATLAB. So by default, MATLAB stores numbers to 4 decimal places. If you want, you can store the, it displays numbers to 4 decimal places. You can display numbers to 15 decimal places by typing format space long. If you want to go back to the default, you use format short. There's also a format for rational numbers, format RAT, or format rational gives you the same thing. In MATLAB, by default, you'll see extra blank lines being displayed between lines of text. So you'll see some text, then a blank line, then more text. That is called the loose version. If you want to get rid of those blank lines so you don't want to scroll as much, you can type format compact. Right, and then format loose will go back to the loose version. These are some commands that are useful to know. So if you want to delete a specific variable from your workspace, you type clear X. If you wanted to delete multiple variables, you would type clear space and then put a variable name separated by spaces. If you just want to clear everything, well, you just type clear. And you can delete the contents of the command window by typing CLC. Right? Another important one is later on when you do programming, it's possible to write an infinite loop, something that will cause MATLAB to just keep running forever. If something like that happens, just hold down Control-C on your keyboard and it should stop it. Right? You can also access the command history using the up and down arrow keys. So you press up first. If you click in the command window and press up, you can see all the commands that you entered and you can navigate through those to find the ones you need. Right, these are just some more important things to note here. I wouldn't go through these in detail. The help command is very useful. If there's a specific command that you need to use, but you're getting problems figuring out how to the exact syntax in terms of the order you type things, you can use the help command to help you out. So for example, if I wanted help on the format command, so I wasn't sure which one of these I needed, I could type help space format, and then that will give you a list of information on the format command, and hopefully it'll help you figure out how to use it. There are also some examples that are typically included in there. All right. For online support, like I said, the MathWorks website is there. For your coursework exams, you will not have access to this, so you will need to know the ins and outs of MATLAB pretty well. So you have to go through this, practice using the software, and know how to what commands that you might want to use in different scenarios. All right, there's this diary command, which I am not examining in the coursework exam, so I'll leave this for you all to investigate yourselves. It could come in the quiz, and quiz 1 specifically, but apart from that, you don't need to know it. So you just need to know the command that would initialize and then turn off a diary file, but apart from that, you don't need to know much about it. Right, and there's some more exercise questions here. At the end, we have a list of some basic MATLAB commands that I'm expecting you all to know. So the ones in blue are the extremely important ones, the ones you must know. The ones not in blue, you could probably get away without knowing, but it could come up at times, maybe in the quizzes or a random question in the coursework exam I can throw in, just to see if you've experimented with MATLAB and tried out these things. All right, so all the trig functions, you need to know all of them, and pay attention to the cosecant function because it's just 3 letters. So it's CSC, not COSEC, right? And then the inverse is just ACSC. The ones in degrees, I'm not going to ask you anything about that, so you don't need to know these. Then we have the hyperbolic functions, exponential and log functions. You don't need to know log base 2, but the others you do need to know. All right, there's the absolute value function, which you need to know. A command for rounding off. Square root, these you definitely need to know. Some of these are pretty useful, could be useful as well. Conjugates, the imaginary part and real part of a number, and the nth root. Right, and then these are some commands that deal with integers. So ceiling function, floor function, LCM, GCD, things like that. We also have is prime to list prime numbers. We have mod, remainder, primes, etc. Those can be useful as well in certain scenarios. All right, random number generator. This is very useful. The rand command and roundI command are definitely you're going to be using that a lot in this course. Randperm I can ask as well, so you do need to look at this as well. All right, and then some operations dealing with arrays. So the identity matrix, length, the length command, linspace, ones, numel, size. These are all introduced in lecture 2. All right. Some of these are the ones you don't necessarily need to know. Right. Also max, mean, median, min, mode, and standard deviation. You should know those. All right, determinant and inverse also covered in lecture 2. Some of these other these other commands are joint, eigenvalues, null, null space, rank, row reduction, things like that can be useful if you go on to do more advanced courses that require MATLAB. Then these are courses in linear algebra, these can be useful. But in this course, it's just determinant and inverse. Right, and then commands for plots. So we have axis, color bar, contour, etc. These you all need to know. Everything in blue here, you will definitely need to use. All right, some other commands, some commands that actually break, continue, etc. They deal more with programming. DISP and fprintf, those are output commands that we will cover in lecture 3. Right, input command as well, lecture 3. Right, and that's it. So I will end this video here. Take care. This pretty much covers everything we did in lecture 1. Okay, bye.